Okay, so with Warframe's next big announced update coming in March, he has stated that there will be a total of 4 new Proto or Hex Warframes coming with the update. Currently we have 6 total Hex Warframes. We have Vault, Excalibur, Scio-9, Mag, Trinity and Nyx. And I thought it would be a cool idea to do a bit of Warframe bingo where we try to guess which will be the most likely options that they drop for the next Proto frames out of our current roster. And the best way to do this is to decipher how they picked their first selection of the 6. Of course, this is all theorizing, but at the same time I think there's some pretty good reasoning behind the picks that I've got for you today. For example, we have 3 female and 3 male hex frames with our first selection. So there is a high chance that the next 4 will be maybe 2 female and 2 male. In addition to this, the format in which they chose is all a bunch of really old Warframes, except for one being Scio-9, who was the brand new Warframe that dropped with said update. Not only are there more really old Warframes to choose from in terms of the earliest roster, but also the update shall be dropping with a brand new Warframe called Temple. So by the process of elimination, I do believe that Temple has a very high chance of dropping with a Proto variant, much like Scio-9 did. And I'm pretty sure Temple is a female Warframe, so that knocks one female off the list. Now let's talk about some of the earliest Warframes that were released that haven't gotten their Protos yet. I think the earliest frames worth mentioning that we have not received are Ashe, Banshee, Ember, Frost, Loki, Rhino, Saren, and maybe Zephyr, Valkyria, Vauban, and Nova. These are all very old Warframes, and there are others you can throw into the mix as well. But me personally, in terms of 3 Warframes other than Temple that I believe could be picked from these original old Warframes, I personally don't believe they're going to do Banshee. Instead, I'd opt for them probably doing Nova instead due to her popularity. And really that's all I'm basing this choice off of. She's old and she's popular, Banshee is kind of low pick rate. However, the other closest female frame that I think they'll put in the mix here is probably Ember. As for the male selection, I think one Warframe really stands out that I've seen a few people suggesting, and that is Loki, and I 100% agree with this because he is one of the oldest frames in the game and he's incredibly iconic, almost on the level of Excalibur, and I think he would have a really dope Hex character. And honestly, the second male option that I think they would go for is really hard for me to pick. In my head, I think I can narrow it down to Rhino, Frost and Ashe. And by process of elimination here, I really feel like they would go with Ashe. I don't really have a particular reason for picking him out of those 3, but I don't know, it just feels right. I feel like he could be kind of a cool edgy counterpart to Nyx's personality. Now, considering that this is what we have to go off so far, I do want to throw in some other suggestions and wildcard answers. I'm talking frames that wouldn't particularly have a reason for us to go off of as to why they'd make them a Hex variant right now, because our previous choices are all based off of specific reasons considering the first 6 we have in the game. I think 2 other potential characters that they could pick for the Hex, one male could be Necros, and one of the females, maybe Mesa. These 2 Warframes released a little bit later into Warframe's time span, but albeit not too much, they're still like, I'm pretty sure Necros and Mesa are either 10 or 11 years old, so they're still very ancient, but I think in terms of frames that would have less of a reason to be introduced, I'd pick those 2. One, because I think Mesa has a really large audience and high pick rate, but also a very interesting possibility for the gunslinger personality to be worked on. And also Necros as a hex frame, how edgy could you possibly get? I feel like there's a lot to work with there, and they probably have a lot of creative freedom in terms of picking a voice actor and choosing some really gnarly voice lines. And then may as well finish it off with a frame that I'd personally love to see get a hex member next. As much as I'd love to see my main Wukong get one, I don't think he will be. I think Nezha or Sevagoth could be really fascinating. They could play into the whole Boy on Fire theme with Nezha. He'd probably have a bit of a similar personality in terms of his youth, kind of like Amir. And then Sevagoth is a bit more like the edge of the Necros idea. And I also believe that Sevagoth could be played with in terms of his split personality based on having him and then his shadow. I know today was just a short, fun idea. I want to hear your guys' theories in the comment section as to which selection of frames you think is going to be with our next 4 Proto drop. Once again, the 4 that I think are most likely are Loki, Ashe, Temple, and either Ember or Nova. The more I think about it, maybe Ember is probably a better candidate, but if you guys have any different ideas, let me know who you think are the 4 most likely to be introduced in the comment section down below. Next video on this channel will most likely be Lavos Prime, so currently I'm just waiting for that to drop for some new content. I appreciate you guys for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Take care.